I love that countdown. It puts so much pressure.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. What's going on, people? This is Balaji, and welcome to another edition of Demand Wars. All right, she's an award winning, revenue focused B2B marketer. She lives at that Venn diagram overlap of data, tech, and marketing. She's a CMO, founder, advisor, speaker, board member. She's advising at companies like Hockey Stack. She's hosting Marketers Talk Marketing. Give me that title, Jess, because I've got to get it right.
It's Marketers Talking Marketing, but what I realized, if you read it wrong, it's Marketer Stalking Marketing. So we'll go either way with it.
That
They
actually
take you
might
to the
be
same website.
That might be apropos. Marketers stalking marketing. I love it. She claims she is boring. I think you'll find otherwise in this conversation. She is, though, a pretty mediocre Call of Duty player. So if you like it, you should put a pixel on it. This is one of the many things that Jess is going to share with us today. Founder and CMO of Some Growth Agency. I love that name. I got to know why. Please help me welcome Jess Bahr.
So we named it Some Growth Agency because, first off, I think it's funny. Everything I do is either for a laugh or SEO. My podcast is Marketers Talking Marketing because it's literally just marketers talking marketing. Some Growth Agency. Who's doing your demand gen? I don't know. Some growth agency. We don't matter. What matters is the results we drive for clients. Like, it's all about their success. So I thought it was funny, and it's stuck, and now it's branded. So we're committed and we're not going back, which is how I run a lot of things. Just make a decision, commit, go. No regrets.
I love it.
It's also why I'm bad at Call of Duty. Just go in.
Just double down, baby. Double down.
My friends I play with, because my typical move is I'll get in a gunfight, I'll ran out of ammo, and then I'll run in and try and just hit them with the gun. And they'll be like, why are you running towards someone who's shooting at you? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just doing it. I just go. So
it's the double down. It's the double down.
Yeah, you just got to commit and act. Follow it through.
I love that. So, Jess, you're actually in the process of growing a brand new agency. Our careers crossed paths. We both worked at Metadata, although not quite overlapping periods of time. I'm interested in what it's like running marketing for dozens and dozens of clients at a place like Metadata versus now turning around and doing it as a standalone.
Oh my God, what a struggle. It's so different. So I think part of it, though, is also that there's that old saying, the cobbler's son has no shoes.
No shoes, yes.
So when I look at even the podcast, Marketers Talking Marketing, like, subscribe, all that stuff. When I look at that, and just as a side note, I've ran social media a long time. I started a company in college. I worked in paid social for almost a decade, early partner to Pinterest for their beta before they came out with advertising. Case studies on my last case study I contributed to Facebook just got taken down a couple weeks ago. So I spent a lot of time in social. I can't write a tweet. I can't write a tweet for my podcast. I can't write a post. It is like pulling teeth, and I'm so excited with everyone that I'm speaking with, and I've like, this is great. But actually doing the work is such a massive struggle. Yeah. And I think part of it is a function of, I love client work. I started the agency literally so I could just do more of the work that I love, and to create a place where the people that I love and marketers that I've worked with can have a space where they can just do the work that they love. Like, that's the whole goal, is it's marketers doing marketing at the agency. So when it comes to marketing for the agency, it's been a little bit of a struggle with those functions who are great at what they do, who get energized by tweeting instead of me, where I kind of like shrivel up in the corner. And then I can focus on building the agency and on the client work, and then have people who are going to be really impactful doing the actual marketing for it. Right. But it's been a little bit of a struggle, but I laugh because I have friends that have their own agencies too. And I have a great SEO agency that I've used a ton. And I was talking to them, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't do SEO for ourselves. Like, we don't care. And in my mind, I was like, well, if someone comes to your website and you have bad SEO, they're going to think that you're bad at SEO. And they're like, yeah, some people brought it up, but like, we don't care. Like, we have enough business. We're not trying to find more. We get enough on referrals. Like, we're happy. So I'm trying not to fall into that pit where we aren't doing marketing for ourselves well. But it's a totally different skill set than going into a fast growth B2B SaaS platform and building a demand gen program for them. It's totally different. I've been sucking at it, to be honest, but you know, expanding my skill set and finding people to augment who are good at it has been my approach.
That's a really interesting point. We were talking before the recording started, Jess, and this point came up about how a lot of people have success. They may have success at a brand, they might have a lot of growth, but they don't necessarily know the real levers that contributed to that growth. And so that makes it difficult to replicate that growth at the next place they go to.
Yeah. There's a few, specifically, there are a few really large agencies in the B2B side of the world who have clients. They have a really good client roster. And I take a ton of calls. I just love talking shop. And so I'll talk to people and it's like, well, why are you doing that? Like, that just, to me, that doesn't make sense. I don't say it like that to them. I'll be like, oh, tell me more about what's driving that strategy. Like, well, how'd you make those decisions? But in my mind, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's nonsense. And what I've realized is they're like, well, so and so said that this is how they grew. And so I want to take those tactics and apply them internally because I want their success. And then I look at it and I go, okay, hold on, let me take a step back. I'm looking at this site, they got no SEO. I'm on their website, I can't find any resources. I Google them, I can't find them. There's so many companies nowadays, I can never find their website when I Google them, and it like infuriates me. But I look at it, I'm like, you're missing all these really big core pieces. So how are you actually growing? Oh, you're spending $500,000 a month on advertising. There you go. That's really what's growing you. It's that you have really good product market fit. You're solving an actual tangible failure, and your in-market audience is massive, where people are looking for your product and they want to give you money when they see it. You have really, really good sellers who can outbound the heck. You have all these other things that went into growth. You're not growing because you move from demand generation, demand capture. You're not growing because of some tactic. You're growing because your organization is healthy in all of these areas. And, oh, by the way, you spend a ton on advertising. But they're selling that they're growing in a different way. And so you get people that want to replicate it, and they're like, I'm trying that thing, it's not working. I must be failing as a marketer. It's like, no, you're not failing. They're not telling you the secret sauce. So when you look at, I think we were talking about Vine and content creators on Vine.
Yeah.
When you look at the former Viners who made it really successful on other platforms after Vine shut down, they're the ones who had a formula and knew how they grew. The Vine stars who just grew because they put out a lot of content and they never quite figured out their niche. They tried to just take that content and put it on other platforms. It's not translatable. Like putting a tick.
Very true.
But it's hard. It's hard to figure out why you're growing sometimes, especially when you have so many variables in it.
That is true. That is a maddening and frustrating part of a lot of marketers' jobs. There's a lot of advice on LinkedIn. There's a lot of advice from talking heads on webinars. And taking those pieces of advice piecemeal, those tactics often don't deliver the same results, which I know is frustrating for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think if you look at a director of marketing versus a VP or a CMO, when your board comes to you and says, hey, if we give you $1 million, what are you going to give us in return? That is such a simple question, but it's so difficult to answer. And that's what I think also separates people from who are, manager, director, and being an executive. Can you with confidence say, if I give you $1 million, you're going to give me $1.5 million back in pipeline? How are you going to get there? And easy to understand, concise, single page presentation.
Yeah.
Because that's 40, 50 hours of data work, of research, of planning, analyzing, but can you distill it down? And a lot of people can't get that. And if you can't get that answer, I think it's going to hold you back long term. It holds you back from growth, holds you back from really being as impactful as you can, and from, unfortunately, for a lot of people, career progression on it.
Yeah, it feels like the profession is at a bit of a crossroads in terms of how quickly technology is moving. Marketing automation has been around for a couple of decades now, but buyer behavior has changed significantly. And I think certain organizations are struggling to keep up. With that in mind, Jess, I want to see if we can jump you into the first question for Demand Wars. All right. So we want to talk about how to survive, how to actually grow and create demand on a
Yeah.
budget. So we're putting you on a deserted island. You've got $1,000 a month budget to create demand. What are you spending that money on, and how do you actually think about the thought process?
Yeah. So if I had $1,000, and there are a lot of companies that have small budgets, so I'm not going to lay the scene and put some assumptions out there.
Hmm.
I got $1,000. I have the internet. I have maybe an SDR or BDR to help out when I bring stuff in, and I'm selling into an audience that has maybe a shorter buying cycle, like 30 to 45 days with it.
Okay.
I would on gift cards on like DoorDash gift cards.
Interesting.
One is I'm going to give my BDR SDR, I'm going to give them a gift card every time they close a meeting that actually converts to a deal. Bribe everyone. That's my stance on it. Just bribe everyone. Because I want to know that anything I bring in, they're following up on. Because ultimately, as a marketer, my job is to make sales easier. And I want to make sure that everything I'm bringing is getting, I mean, I'm just repeating it now, but there's nothing worse than when you have a great event or a great program, you bring a ton of leads in, and then nothing gets touched by sales. So I want to make sure that my sellers are incentivized right along with the work that I'm doing, that we're working in unison together to make these deals happen. And then I'm going to go out. I'm going to find someone to do day scraping for me for a low cost because I got low budget. So I'm going to go probably on Upwork, and I'm going to find someone to go near in market. You know, in market would be great too, but at least near in market. I'm going to find them. I'm going to make a list, and then I'm going to hit LinkedIn. And my BDR that I'm giving gift cards to, I'm going to try and get them to do just cold outbounding to it. I'm going to pull in Wellixy or Mailshake or another tool so I can do some sequence cadences between LinkedIn direct outreach and email marketing with it. And I'm going to put an incentive out there where, because I know I've narrowed my audience down to someone who's near in market. And so if I can spend, and maybe it's depending on the price point, maybe it's a like $25 gift card, or maybe it's a $10 donation to charity to make the meeting. I'm going to have some incentive, find those people just to get them into a conversation. And I'm going to make sure that I have a really, really good email nurture together. Because I know as a marketer, if I can get someone to talk to me, I can sell them on talking to my sales rep. I can sell them on why they need us because I know my pain points, like is it like the back of a hand? I just forgot the phrase.
I think it is. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know my pain points, right? I know that if I can get someone in a conversation, I can sell them on getting to my sales team. So all I need to do is get them into that conversation. And I think one of the quickest ways is to bribe them with something, with a little gift card, and give them a good experience and educate them along the way. So they come in, they say, all right, I don't really want to talk to you, but I see you're going to donate $10 to Girls Who Code. That's an organization close to my heart. So I'm gonna respond, and I'm going to go watch your 5-minute YouTube video on it or whatever it is. And then when they get in there, hit them with content, show them you're a valuable partner, their pain points, and you're going to help them along the way. And then get them over to your seller, make sure your seller is just as incentivized to push them through the process.
Yeah, that's interesting, Jess. I like your categorization, first of all, of starting with the targeted audience. That it doesn't sound fancy, but it so simplifies the problem. Anytime we have constraints, that makes the solution not only simpler, but much more likely to work. A question I have for you is, what are some ways you think of identifying prospects that are near in market? I think that's been a tough nut to crack.
Yeah. So in market, like any of us can go find in market, even if you have, so I'll give an example for my ICP for the agency. And this is not anything that I could target on LinkedIn. Most of my clients fall in 2 buckets. It's a first sales hire at an early stage company that's being tasked with building marketing. And so they know they need to build marketing and they don't know how to build it. And they're typically very concerned about making the wrong first hire. Because if you bring in the wrong person, you're 6 months down the line and then you have to start over again.
Yeah.
It's that, or it's a well-established company where they have a function of marketing that they haven't paid attention to. So maybe it's a double-sided marketplace where they haven't looked at the B2B side yet. Maybe it's a company that's been historically been SMB mid-market and they want to go up market to enterprise. So that's who I sell into. I can't go and like build an audience on LinkedIn and show me everyone who's in stealth mode That's a first sales hire. Like you
Right.
can't do that.
Right.
But I can do things to find them, right? I can find those conversations. I can look for other digital signals. So what I think about is, what's that next ring out? So if your ICP is someone who's buying, let's say that they are buying infrastructure, they're going to go and they're going to buy a monitoring solution for their business.
Right.
What do they need to do before they get to monitor on how to monitor infrastructure, how to be notified of system outages, how to respond to system outages? So you find those things that are kind of ancillary to it and who's actively engaging with that, and then you go meet them there. So if you're a monitoring platform and you're looking at people who are just trying to figure out, how do I know if my system's down, right? Which is pretty close to being in market, actually. So let's go a step further. How do I like create an incident response team, right? So go find that, make content for them and help them solve that problem.
Yeah.
Gusto does this really well. Gusto is a tool for payroll, HR, a bevy of items, but they have a ton of templates that help you as you're approaching needing to make your first hire, needing an HR solution. So that's where I would go, is find things that are if not in market, close to in market, and start with that audience who is target the world. You're never going to reach them. It's so much more important that you really narrow down where are you spending your money to have an impact with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Jess, I saw this fascinating meme by Elena Verna on LinkedIn today. She's in the growth space, one of my favorite voices on LinkedIn. And it's a Homer Simpson cartoon. It's a clip where someone shoots Homer with an arrow. He dies. And then next thing, he grows wings and he's this angel climbing this escalator, I guess going into heaven. And then the escalator turns down and turns into a slide. And then he slides down into hell instead. And it was like, the idea was that the best laid plans, right? She actually alluded to, okay, when someone starts as a new hire, they come in and they're good. They have all these grand ideas, but then they get into the company and there's office politics. There's agendas. There's lack of resources. There's, all this stuff. I think sometimes people actually they run into organizational challenges that might prevent them from maybe being as agile as they'd like to be. It might prevent them even from spending resources on people who are near in market versus just focusing on, capture the people who are raising their hands. How do you advise clients to maybe find or make the space?
It all comes down to alignment. Every problem you ever have in your entire life comes down to alignment. So if you're a marketer, and a very, very common scenario is we're hearing a lot of people talk about doing more with less, budgets getting cut, all that stuff. Marketers always are being pressured to have a quick return. And so when you look at organizations that are rolling out programs like ABM, or focusing more on demand generation to capture down the line, it can be really hard to make that space and say, hey, we're not going to see an uptick in MQLs for 30 days. But once we do, it's going to come in really fast. So we're going to get there. We're going to get to that return, but I need you guys to be patient and we need to work towards that return. My recommendation is take that time, that space you need, and break it down into chunks and help people understand, what does good look like? Where we're going to target people who are potentially in market in the next 60 to 90 days. We're going to start nurturing them now. What does good look like? Good looks like meaning that we have high engagement. We're seeing more engagement coming in. We're using a tool like demand base or attribution, where we can see that in our target audience, we're seeing more net new contact source. We're seeing more people engaged with it. We're seeing more website views. So good looks like this. When we get to what good, because what do they think good looks like? What does a seller think good looks like? They think good looks like a qualified inbound that turns to a meeting that day and opens pipeline the next day.
That's right.
That's what they want. And so it's helping them understand what is actually good, what's bad. For a lot of leaders, their thought about marketing is just inbound. And so your role as a marketer is to help educate and really partner with the rest of your leadership team and help them understand what it looks like. You may need to, in the interim though, say, here's what we're going to do for demand capture of in-market people. And here's demand creation for those who are going to be in market in 60 to 90 days. And by the way, we know that there's people who are going to be, who are going to be buying in 120 days. And so we're really going to start just an overall PR nurture program, and that's where they're going to reach it. And here's how we measure performance, and here's the plan. Often, if you give someone a plan of how you're going to get there, they're less, I would say, it almost minimizes some of that risk of them not seeing a return yet. And it's all alignment, right? Saying, here's our plan. Here's what good looks like. Are we all in agreement? Do we agree that this is how we're going to measure program impact? And it's not going to be pipeline generated. Yeah. We're going to measure this program impact based on moving accounts from unaware to aware. That's our goal. Are we all aligned? Then when you go in your meeting the next week and they go, yeah, but where's pipeline? You go, hey, hold on. Let's take a step back. We aligned on this as the goal. Here's how we're measuring it. Is there any compelling reason to change that goal? Oh, you need more activity for your sellers because you have too much free time on their hands now and they need more at bats. Okay, let's talk about that. But that is a separate problem than this project that we aligned on, that we agreed upon, that we're reporting weekly on the progress towards. And it's like revisit that conversation. My greatest fear as a marketer is coming into an organization where I think that we're aligned on my mandate there, my purpose, and then being in a meeting where nothing matters but leads, and that no one is open to anything but leads. Like, that's the worst, because you're never going to win in that game. If you're always chasing that short term of capturing in market, getting people who are going to buy right away, you're never going to win the long-term game of driving sustainable growth for the company.
Yeah. That's a bar right there, man. You said it. You said it. A lot of marketers are struggling with that right now, but you've given, I think, some tangible solutions. The focus on alignment, communicating a clear plan, communicating a plan for both sides of the coin. So not just going 100% demand creation, but sort of allaying their fears about days from now, 120 days from now. I think that's really good.
Having a deck will take you far. Just having a deck with your plan on it will get you very far in life.
Yeah. That's good. Well, okay, so that's helpful, but I want to see if we can sort of knock you off kilter a little bit, because you took that one pretty comfortably. So what about a situation, Jess, as we move to the second question for Demand Wars? You've been asked to create demand, but fast. So we're not just talking people we actually want to create demand. How would you create demand? This is hypothetical. In 3 days, in 3 weeks, and then in 3 months. So let's tackle the first one. Management bursts into the room. We've got zero pipeline. No, we need 3 days fast. What are you doing?
Yeah, we're going to have... I'm taking inspiration from sales on this standpoint.
Yeah.
Doing like a call blitz, but not a call blitz, like cold calling. I'm going to take a stance. I think cold calling's dead. I hate cold calling.
Ooh.
I don't like it. Maybe we're going to warm call or lukewarm temperature call. But I would get everyone, like, we need to get demand. We have to get business in, or else the company is going out of business in a week. Okay, great. I would get everyone involved and be like, we're gonna have a really fun marketing hackathon and gamify it company-wide. We're gonna do a hackathon. Our goal is we want to get, because you need to break everything down. If we want to get $1 million in revenue, we're gonna need 4 million in pipeline, and to that 4 million pipeline, we need 95 meetings. And so how do we get 95 meetings? So we're gonna aim to get 100 meetings, because we need 95. We're gonna aim for 100 meetings. Maybe it's 125. We're going to do it as a team, and we're going to make it a fun event, get everyone, all hands on board. And then let's talk about it as a team. I'm going to come in with a bunch of ideas and know where I want it to go, because that's my job as the marketing leader. But I'm going to let everyone really own those ideas they're creating. This is something I learned from manufacturing engineering.
Really?
I started my career as a young woman designing production lines. And let me tell you what, as a 20-some-year-old woman, going into a factory with 55-year-old guys who'd worked there for 30 years, I couldn't tell them anything. So I would come in and I would look at them and be like, okay, I know that in your work area, I want you to start on the right side of the desk and move to the left side.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring your material into the right side of the desk. I'm going to guide you to making that decision that I want you to make. And I'm going to let you own that entire decision. And I'm going to celebrate you making that decision. And you just had such a great idea. Joe, that is a fantastic idea. I would love to make that happen for you. Let me see what I can do.
Oh my gosh.
Look at Joe's idea. Joe's idea just saved him 30 minutes a day of not having to move material. Joe, you saved the company $1 million a year. Let's give Joe an award. The whole time I knew what I want Joe to do. But if I tell someone to do, they're not going to do it. So I would come in with ideas, be like, we're going to do a hackathon. What can we do to drive 100 meetings? Let's get, because you have to give them something to grab onto that's right there. 100 meetings. Let's do it. What can we do? Does our CEO have a big LinkedIn network? Everyone in the company start posting immediately. Who knows how big your networks are? Everyone posts. What more can we do? Where's our target account list? Everyone look at that list for 10 minutes and write down, mark out the accounts you think you know someone at. How can we get into it? Make it a all hands on deck experience and try and make it fun so that they don't hate it and they don't think we're doing it because things are bad, but it gives them more motivation because it's fun. So I'm going to take some of my $1,000 desert money and order lunch for the team.
I love it.
Pizza motivates people.
It does.
Pizza's motivating. So I would try and get hands on deck because marketing doing on its own is pretty limited with it. If I had 3 weeks, so I have a little bit more time, I'm going to try and launch a big campaign.
Okay.
A big campaign that has maybe a PR component even in it. Who do we know at different publications we can try and get into? Who do we know that's a partner company? So can we launch a campaign? We're selling widgets into senior citizens. Can we launch a campaign next week? Who do we know that's in our market audience? Oh, yeah. AARP. AARP, our audience loves them. Can we do a partnership with them and get them just to share it? Can we get them to amplify to their audience? So I definitely try and do a launch of something that can make a splash.
Right. Get
partners involved, pull PR in. And then if I had 3 months, I'm going to do a much larger, fully integrated campaign, partner channel, pull out all the stops, everything we can pull into it and make it so it's multi-touch. So start soft launching in a week or two and have a cadence of activity that builds up to a bigger release and have that release maybe 4 to 6 weeks out from the start. That's really going to drum people up and then have a very, very strong follow-up from it. I see so many companies that will have a big release and then they're like, okay, bring us all the business. Nothing happens. Have your release. Have your follow-up sequencing from your sales team and from marketing and from leadership on LinkedIn and from partners amplifying it. Building a really big program, pulling in some sponsorships maybe. I don't know, maybe we're going to rent out Disneyland for a day and bring our prospects there with their kids.
Okay.
Let's really, do what we can to blow it up.
Oh, that's fun. That's phenomenal. And I love the levels. I love the levels from a marketing hackathon in 3 days to a big campaign in 3 weeks to a multi-touch, fully integrated campaign, strong follow-up. This all feels like, I'm sure marketers are chomping at the bit this, I could do this.
Well, I will say though, I think where there's a big difference is because as I'm talking through this, we did a Valentine's Day campaign in about 5 days. We turned around, we packaged up. We found someone local via Etsy, because on Etsy you can filter by people in your area.
Okay.
Found someone local on Etsy to print our boxes. So we had a big, I think it was a 16 by 9 inch by 4 inch tall, big box. Printed them custom. They're pink and purple. So you're not going to miss it when it gets, and this was pre-pandemic.
Right.
So you're not going to miss that when it gets delivered to your office. We packaged 2,000 boxes up in a couple days, got everything sourced. We went to Sugarfina with an Uber and came back with 2 cars worth of Sugarfina boxes. We did it all in about 3 or 4 days, turned the whole thing around. That's not sustainable. And there's a lot of marketing teams that can't do that. They can't get that through legal. They can't get that approved. They can't get budget. So
yeah,
it all sounds really fun and exciting, which is the theme of everything I do. I want it to be fun. I want it to be enjoyable, or I don't want to do it and I'm not going to do it. But it's not actually realistic for a lot of people, depending on your team size and depending on the stage of marketing you're at. If you're marketing for Cisco, you're never doing this. But if you're marketing for an early stage company and you're the only marketer, there's 20 of you, you can do a hackathon, and I bet you the engineers will love it because they never touch marketing.
Right.
And it's new and shiny and fun for them.
Right. Oh, that's phenomenal. I love that. I love that. Killed it. Okay. All right. You get the hang of this, Jess. This is good. Jess, we had talked a little bit earlier about the progression of working from home and how a lot of us are slowly trying to figure out what our home office situation needs to look like, whether it's the standing desk or the upgraded microphone. Some brands are starting to toy with this idea of marketing like a media company. I'd love to know
Yeah.
what that concept means to you and what that, when executed well, might actually look like.
Yeah. Content marketing has been around forever.
Hmm.
I think like John Deere did content marketing in like the 1800s, right? It's been
Yeah.
around for a long time. But I do think, and I'll say, I think Drift was one of the companies that first did this really well, was becoming entertainment, becoming
Hmm.
engaging. And they put out a ton of content that was just
Yeah.
spoke, and was the biggest sexist piece of shit I've ever seen speak. Aside
Nice.
from that, where he talked about
Wow.
like fucking his wife on the plane on the way there,
Oh my
that was absurd.
gosh.
That
Wow.
was absurd.
Okay,
But
Grant.
aside from that, I think Drift did really well with it. And so when you look at companies, especially on the B2B side,
Hmm.
we don't have to be boring. Like, be fun, get people engaged, get them knowing who you are and using your product through knowing who you are. Goldcast does this. They had a CMO series for a long time. And you would sign up for it. You could hear CMOs talk. It was like a fireside chat, but you're also in their product asking questions to them, engaging with their polling. And so you're getting used to the product without directly being sold to it. I think there's a ton of opportunities for modern companies to become more content producers, more engaging media companies to get people using it versus just trying to straight up sell them, especially in work from home. We're all working much longer days than we used to. We're not moving from the computer. And I think it's harder to break through the noise in that regard. So if you can come in with content, engaging someone in a way that's fresh, that makes them want to engage with you, you're going to break through the noise with it. And there's no company that can't do it. I mean, there's companies making plumbing very exciting. I don't know anything about plumbing. I don't care about plumbing, but my really well that he gets excited about as a plumber.
Wow.
So I know there's plumbing companies doing it too. Yeah. But
Now
it's
that's
such an opportunity,
that is a
and you
really
don't,
good example.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jess. I was just going to
Yeah.
mention. Speaking of plumbing, I moved into a new house. My family and I did a year ago, and we were doing our 1 year inspection. And there's all sorts of things that need fixing. Some of the stuff I could fix on my own. I'm not necessarily the most handy of people. I'll admit it, but I went to YouTube
Yeah.
and good Lord, there's a video for everything. So I go out,
Yeah.
I buy the product that they recommend. I'm not looking at the price. I don't care about the bread. Like, this is the one you want me to do.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because you're a voice that I know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a phenomenal example too, because you're gonna get the products they're recommending. Also, like, I've done the same thing. I don't want to get the wrong thing and do it wrong. I just want to be able to watch it. Or and this goes back to Gusto,
Hmm.
I'm using their templates and I'm like, man, I don't want to do this manually. Can I just pay them I clearly know. I know that
Mm,
they know what they're doing because they're showing me they know what they're doing
right,
by giving me the tools to do it myself.
right.
But I don't want to do it. Can I
Yeah,
pay them to do it?
yeah.
100%. And that's where I think a lot of agencies that do performance marketing and advertising, that's how they start getting people in.
Hmm.
There's this, I won't name names here. I won't name names, but there was a guy that I used to work for, freelance. He was a client, and he had a coaching business.
Hmm.
And his lead magnet was around Facebook advertising. It was, I'll teach you. It was this course to learn how to run Facebook advertising. And at the time, I had this is when I was in college. I had a company, and my business partner sent it to me, and it was like, "Hey, this is great because we do a lot of Facebook advertising." And I watched. I was like, "This guy doesn't know shit. Like, this is not good. Like, he clearly doesn't do advertising." And I happened to sit next to him on a plane one time,
Wow.
going from like New York to Atlanta, and I was like, "Oh, you're really familiar looking." And then I realized who it was. I was like, "Oh yeah, I saw that. I
Wow.
didn't think it was that great." And he goes, "Oh, I didn't actually do it. Like, I don't know how to do Facebook advertising. Someone made the course for me, and I just teach it." And I was like,
Whoa.
"You want to pay me to do a better one for you?"
Oh
And then he
gosh.
hired me to run his Facebook Facebook ads.
Wow.
This goes back to people aren't telling you how they actually got successful.
Yep.
Okay, they're telling you what they think you'll buy. But for a lot of agencies, that's their big hook is like, we'll teach you how to do this. And then you do it and you're like, man, like this sucks. I'm going to show people how to do it. They're going to do it themselves. And they're going to be like, oh man, like this is a ton of work. I hate doing this. And then they're going to come to him and say, hey, you know, and he casually plugs it in. You know, if you want someone else to do this, I know a lot of people that do this. And so they come like, oh man, like I want to use Facebook. You know, you talk about all these great results you can get. I'm not getting those when I run it myself. So maybe I shouldn't do it. Do you have someone who can do it? And then he refers his clients. That's his entire lead magnet funnel.
Yeah.
It's here's how to do it. Ideally, it's here's how to do it and actually setting someone up to be successful.
Right.
The like unethical side is here's how to do it, and I'm going to tell you the wrong thing so you're not successful and you need to pay me more to do it.
Right.
But it's a great approach, and it's one that, you know, I think on the marketing side, we can pull a lot from the affiliate marketing world and from people who for a long time was a little bit less regulated than traditional marketing. Like any ClickFunnels training you ever watch is going to be show someone how to do it, but not 100% of the way. So they have to pay you to get that last 10% and then have them hire you to do it.
Right.
You know, it's a very common approach, but
yeah, that's
we kind of went down a tangent.
You know, it's not a tangent at all because I think a lot of marketers consume courses, but not that many of us are creating courses, and courses are just one example of operating like a media company. Not that many of us are building that into our plans. I suspect possibly because, well, a course could be a good lead magnet, to be fair, in other departments, but a course is not necessarily going to identify people who are in market. It might not, it might get people who are not the ICP. So it's not necessarily going to drive pipeline immediately. And maybe that's a contributor to why we don't see more marketers doing it.
Traditionally, the pressure is on immediate returns. And so it doesn't feel like it's going to have, like metadata has demand gen university, right? There's a ton of people that's hitting that will never buy metadata. There's a ton of students that are watching it. There's a lot of people in small businesses who'll never need the product, they'll never be able to afford it. And so traditionally companies would say, well, don't do it. It's not going to hit our ICP. Only do things that serve our ICP.
Right.
Go back to me being on a desert island with $1,000. I'm only hitting my ICP or near in market. You know, they don't want to spend the time and energy and effort. On the flip side, I think there's a lot of what we're told are best practices. And when you start doing things outside the best practices, you're like, I know that I know I really should be like excluding current customers from my targeting, but I didn't do it and I don't care. Yeah. And you don't want to tell people you're not doing it because you're not following best practice. But really, maybe by not excluding them, you're engaging other people at your customer and it's actually going to benefit you. We don't like to talk about the things we do that go against the grain.
That's true.
To other industry professionals. And then by the time that you start seeing it's working, it's probably because someone else started talking about it and you're like, oh yeah, I do that too. You know, I think we're less, as marketers, we're less prone to share the things that we shouldn't be doing because there's always going to be some executive that read a blog post about MQLs being dead that you just don't even engage in the conversation. So you stop reporting on MQLs, right? There's always someone that's going to criticize what you're doing. Yeah. And then on the flip side, there's been a lot of times I was running campaigns. I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing because I don't want them to be competitive for the same inventory. I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to share what I'll tell a handful of people what I'm doing, but I'm not going to go out and tell everyone about it. I was running images and videos on Facebook long before it became a thing that was getting done. And as soon as other people started doing it, you would see your performance start to dip.
Yeah.
You know, when you're running for, especially a larger company, at the time I was doing a lot of, I used to run all the content syndication and paid media for like Time Inc., Bloomberg, Condé Nast. We would run subscription campaigns for them. And when you're competing on that level and you're spending that much money, you don't want anyone to know what you're doing. You do not want that getting out at all.
No,
with
that's
LinkedIn
a really
and
good point.
Facebook, when they rolled out the ability to see ads other companies were running, there were a lot of people really upset about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true. I think that's one of the challenges with people sharing tactics that are marketing tactics that are working for them. Because one, it's sort of like trying to duplicate an experiment in a completely different environment. You're
Yeah.
not those are tactics that they've run for a while, and maybe the efficacy
Yeah.
is starting to drop. And so they have a motivation for sharing, which is different from just the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
funny.
It's and I think it also goes back to people don't know what's working. They don't even realize it sometimes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So, Jess, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. When we talk about demand capture versus demand creation, they're two sides to the same coin. They're both valuable and necessary in a healthy organization. How do you decide how much of your budget to allocate to capture versus creation?
Yeah. That's a great question because I think there isn't really a right answer.
Hmm.
So typically when I'm starting off with everything, I have this rule of thumb, and I'm pretty sure it's antiquated because it's literally I've been using it since like 2012. So I'm pretty sure it's wrong. But I always plan out I need $100 per day per audience I'm trying to reach.
Hmm.
And so I'll look at my demand capture audience because it's people in market, they're going to have a quicker return.
Hmm.
And I'll look at them and see how much budget do I need to reach them. All right, what do I have then left over for demand creation? And I'll typically try and work it back to where the demand creation part is about 25 to 30% of overall budget, with the rest of it for capture. Capture is going to be a lot more expensive to hit them. And I'm using more bottom of funnel metrics. It's a targeted audience on LinkedIn. Oftentimes I'm targeting specific people, or at minimum companies with title and seniority on top of it. It's more expensive to reach the same size audience than it is with creation. So typically that's where I end up. I think the demand creation budget is similar to an exploratory marketing budget overall, where if you know that you have to hit you have a certain target you have to hit, back into what you need to get there and take that rest and kind of separate it out with it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's a challenge too, and you need to really have stuff architected well to go between the two.
I like that, and I appreciate your candid response. You've got sort of a finger in the air, and this isn't necessarily just a wild guess. It's based on your experience.
Yeah.
That $100 per day per audience. Give it, granted you've been using it for 10 years, so maybe it's tweaked, maybe it's 150, maybe it's 130
Yeah.
now.
And
But
it also
just
depends on platform too.
oh, that's true.
Yeah. So like Facebook. So I used to run about $20 to $30 million a year on Facebook alone. I did that for like half a decade. And on Facebook, we could get $1.50, $2 CPM for our audience. So you can back into a little bit different. But if you're on LinkedIn and you're using really aggressive targeting, it's going to be like $10, $12 CPM sometimes to hit those people with it. So it really does also vary. It's just a starting point with it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Always benchmark your own stuff,
Hello.
Yeah.
Everybody loves industry benchmarks. I think they almost take responsibility off of us as the individuals, because we say, well, people are saying an average CPL is X, but it varies by industry, by company size, company maturity, and so on.
It's the same reason that companies love hiring consultants.
Yes.
It's an outside entity telling you if you're good or bad. And I'm going to tell you, I think a majority of the benchmarks, having engaged with benchmarks from like the big platforms for well over a decade at this point. I don't know how I got this age, but for a long time, it's all made up, right? Like, okay, they're giving you a B2B benchmark and it's based on advertisers in the B2B space. You don't know what they're running. And so they're going to try and normalize their data to give like what they feel like is the best, most accurate description for it, the best number for it. But you don't really know. Is that B2B brand promoting their newsletter? Are they promoting thought leadership? Are they promoting like bottom of funnel content?
Yeah.
You don't know. Like all of industry benchmark data is complete bullshit. Metadata has actually really good B2B benchmarks, and it's live data that's pulled. Maybe it's not live. It's near live, but it's pulled from their platform clients.
Right.
So like that's a great benchmark. But again, think about metadata's client base. if you're a small business that's spending $1,000 a month on Facebook,
Yep.
you're not the same type of company.
True.
If you're a fast growth B2B SaaS company, use metadata as benchmarking data because it's more close to your company type and who you're selling to than what you're going to get industry benchmark stuff. But
that's a good call.
It's all wrong. So, find the data that makes you look good.
Right. Benchmark your own stuff, people. Start with the baseline and then, go from there. Yeah. All right, cool. We got to get you out of here. I've taken up more than enough of your time, Jess. This has been fun. So if I could, let me ask a couple more questions.
Yeah. I don't have a hard stop, so I do have a little bit of time.
Fantastic. All right, cool. So I would like to get into, gotta go, demand creation plan for 2023. What are 5 things, assuming you have your separate demand or integrated demand capture plan? So that side is taken care of. So for that discretionary demand creation budget, what are 5 things that you want to make sure you're including?
Yeah. Number 1 is figure out where your audience is that they do not expect you to be. TikTok. Go to TikTok. People are so afraid of TikTok because it's like, it's not for brands. It's for the youth, kids these days, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Find where your audience is that they don't expect you to be and go meet them there.
Wow.
Because you're probably going to be the only one of your competitors that's actually there.
Wow.
TikTok, newsletters, emerging platforms, Substacks are fantastic. Find those unexpected spots. Go be there, but be there in an organic way. So if you find, TikTok as an example, if we look at Duolingo, which is run by a phenomenal woman whose name escapes me right now, in her young 20s, she, if it's not a Harvard Business School case study, it will be soon. Duolingo's done a phenomenal job on TikTok. If you looked at Duolingo's TikTok presence in a vacuum, you would never think it's Duolingo. It's a murderous bird that picks fights with people on TikTok. Like, you would never think that's what it is. They're there in a really organic way. So find where your audience is unexpectedly and go there.
Wow.
But do it in a way that's going to meet them there. So maybe it is working with influencers in the space, maybe someone that can go and be a part of that community, but get there in an organic way. No one else is going to be there. They're there looking at sponsorships through content syndication.
Yeah.
They're not looking at community, they're not looking at the same stuff. So number 1, and also you're going to have no ROI on that. You have no ROI.
Uh-oh.
So your measurement when finance is like, why are we spending $40,000 sponsoring this community? You're like, hey, we know our audience is there, and here's how we're going to measure it. We're going to look at mentions. We're going to look at X, Y, and Z, figure out your metrics. There's not going to be an ROI on it. So go figure out that. Number 2, I would say, is get a measurement tool. If you are able to say, hey, we're investing, I'm going to go back to demand based is like my go-to tool for this example. Just for this, I'm not endorsing them. They're just my go-to example for it.
Gotcha.
In demand based and other tools, you can see where your traffic is coming from. And so you can say, hey, we had an uptick in traffic from our tier 1 list. We had an uptick in traffic from our SMB target list. Find some measurement tool you can use that's going to measure your website traffic and try and de-anonymize it to your target account list, because I'm assuming your target account list ties back to sales revenue. Find a tool that gives you social listening so that you can show how your share of voice is growing. Find tools that are not revenue so you can paint that entire picture internally of marketing's impact. If you sponsor a community, it does not have an ROI immediately, but if you can start saying, hey, we saw that community actually contributed, it drove 10% of our traffic this month and it was 5% last month, drove 10% of our traffic, and we're seeing really good names. We're just not seeing them ready yet, but we're seeing that we're starting to lay that foundation.
Yeah.
It's going to tell such a different story for you. So that's 1, 2. Number 3 is have someone on your team who's an analyst, or make really, really good friends with FinOps, RevOps, and get your reporting in order. It leads into number 2 of having a tool for it, but you need to be able to tell that story about marketing's doing. Because again, demand creation does not have an immediate ROI.
Yeah.
And if finance is measuring you just on that immediate ROI, they're going to cut your budget because it's not performing. And they know if you put $1 into sales, you get $2 back.
Yeah.
If you put $1 into marketing and you get someone knowing it, like we're not John Wanamaker over here saying we can't measure half our marketing activity.
Yeah.
You got to be able to measure it. You need to invest in someone on your team or a resource that's friendly to you that will help you measure it and report it out internally. Number 4, this is content. I would say content again. I like the idea that you have around, and the questions you asked about media company. Wants to hear you talk about yourself. Duolingo is hot on TikTok because it's a murderous bird who picks fights with people.
Right.
It's entertaining. Invest in content production and helping elevate people internally as thought leaders in your space, especially if you sell it to a technical audience. Make your engineers rock stars that they begrudgingly will agree to do eventually.
Right.
Make them the celebrities and invest in content. Invest in content that doesn't just highlight company-sponsored podcasts, are ones that have maybe a host from that company, but feature other people on it, feature guests, feature interviews, and contribute value to the community. So invest in content, because content is also what you can do to lead into these places that your audience is that you're not expected to be at. And then number 5 is going to be take your PTO time. You probably have unlimited PTO. Take your freaking PTO time. Take vacation, because it's a grind and it takes a long time to get a return on it. And if you don't take vacation and take care of your mental health and take time for yourself, you're just going to burn out. And that's not going to be good for anyone, especially not you. So take your PTO time.
I have to say that is the first time I've heard anyone list that as a tactic, as a strategy. What are you doing here, Jess? There's no ROI.
I know, there is an ROI. None of these are ROI. None of these will generate any ROI for you. Nothing I recommend is going to generate any money for your companies.
Well, maybe not immediately and maybe not easily measurable, but the crazy thing is all these things absolutely do give a return. But it goes back to the alignment point you made earlier, helping the rest of the company to have realistic expectations. So often the expectations are unrealistic, and as such, the marketer is set up to fail. But this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest risk to marketing, the biggest problem marketing has, is that your CFO is accustomed to having one source of truth for everything. Your CFO is used to having a spreadsheet that is completely factual, no gray space, nothing is a guess. Everything is a fact and a number, and it all comes from one data source. You can get as close as you can get, but ultimately Facebook doesn't share all the data with you. LinkedIn doesn't share all the data with you. Google Analytics has anonymous traffic. You have a ton of disparate data sources you're pulling together, and you're trying to produce it out to your leadership team to look at. And then you have to have the conversation about why website traffic in demand base doesn't match sessions in Google Analytics, because they're not the same thing, but they don't know it. I think it's the biggest problem marketers have is
very true.
Unrealistic expectations with what can be measured and reported on.
Very true.
We're not John Wanamaker, okay? We're not in that world. He's the one who said, he was a mercantilist. He was a guy.
Yeah.
He was a white man, probably, who said that 50% of marketing can't be measured. Like, I know 50% of my marketing works. I just don't know which 50%.
That's right.
We're not there, but it's never going to be 100%. And it's never going to be worth measuring 100%, That's my rant.
For every marketer who's spent countless hours chasing down data for a PowerPoint presentation that ultimately the numbers didn't line up anyway. You
didn't get past the first slide.
That's right.
If your CFO is like, why doesn't your data line? Be like, listen, I'm not John Wanamaker. And then just walk away. Just leave them at that and walk away.
We've all been there. All right, Jess, one gotta go. I'm going to give you a series of 3 marketing tools, tactics, principles. One of them, you get to keep 2. One of them gotta go.
Okay.
You ready to play?
I am ready.
All right. Don't get mad at me. I just follow the rules here. Here we go. Marketing operations expertise, performance marketing expertise, customer insight expertise. One gotta go.
Oh, I can't live without marketing operations ever. I will say, I think if you're a good performance marketer, you also know marketing ops. That might get some hate. I know a lot of really good performance marketers who don't know marketing operations. I think customers got to go because I think that someone else knows customer and like we can just not own that. Like someone else can tell us what customers care about. That's what product marketing is for. We don't marketing can handle that.
You can direct your feedback to at some growth agency. All right, that's fair. That's totally fair because all of these ideally we have, it's tough to cut one of them.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this, Jess. Trade show leads, ebook leads, webinar leads. One gotta go.
Ebook leads. Ooh, fuck your gated content.
Oh, say for the people in the back.
I will say I've seen a lot of people do trade shows really, really poorly. The first year I took over a marketing program, the first year we ran events, we had like a 680% increase ROI because we captured leads correctly at the shows. We did things to generate engagement. We gave Lego kits away.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of ways that you can. I could see a lot of people saying trade shows can go if they're not getting an ROI on them or it's the wrong show. But I think trade shows can be phenomenal sources of opportunity and pipeline because you have someone physically there with you. I think webinars similarly are a great content piece that you can also repurpose to a million different pieces of content. And I wholeheartedly believe in ungating any written PDF video content you can. Like, this is a secret. I'm going to tell you guys the secret sauce that I don't talk about.
Lean in, people.
I typically will have a webinar gated and ungated on the website. I'll have it both ways. And I'll use gated webinars in paid promotion. But if you just Google it, you can find the ungated thing on the website or on YouTube or on anywhere else. Like, we're literally just gating content because it's used in paid promotion. It's ungated everywhere else.
That's funny.
If you Google and you find ungated, cool. Because you've told me that you don't want me to have your information. Right. I'm cool with that. Feel free to opt out of me ever talking to you because I don't want you unless you're qualified in a market.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I love it. All right.
Hot takes here.
A lot of hot takes. Here's 3 more. Lead scoring.
Okay.
Lead nurturing. Intent data. One gotta go.
I'm going to get rid of lead scoring. Ooh. Well, here's why. I think lead scoring is a component of intent data because you can make your own intent data. Side note, you don't have to buy intent data. Make your own. It's like making dinner at home. You don't have to go buy someone else's. But I don't care about lead scoring as much as if you have good nurtures. So oftentimes my only gate is like demo request contact sales. I don't want anyone going to the sellers until they're ready to buy. That's ideally. We're sending enough people ready to buy that our sales team is full at capacity and they don't even need to go do any prospecting or outbounding. So I don't need lead scoring. I don't think MQLs are dead. I think MQLs have a place, especially in marketing triggers, but I would get rid of lead scoring there.
Gotcha. Very interesting. All right, I'll give you one more. Great brand reach. Great brand recall, great brand resonance. One gotta go, Jess.
I'm gonna keep one.
You're gonna get rid of 2.
Keep one. I'm gonna get rid of 2. I'm gonna go broad here. I'm gonna go with reach, and here's why.
Wow.
I have bought stuff from companies that I cannot tell you the name of the company. There are tools that I use that I cannot remember their name consistently when I tell people about them. And if I clear my cache, I'm never finding. Actually, I use ClickUp. I love ClickUp. ClickUp has changed my life. Every time I go to their website, I have to think about what their website is because I can never remember their name when I go to it. Especially if you have any product-led growth. You don't need to hit someone multiple times. You just need to hit them and get them to buy your one time, get them to sign up, and then they're going to come back to you because they bought you. Right? That's the goal. So I think as long as you can reach the audience in a compelling way when they're in market and get them to convert, like that's what you as a marketer do for your job. And once they're converted, like hand it over to growth, hand it over to product, make sure they're using the platform, right? Upselling them, all that. But I'm just going to, I would say reach with it.
All right.
Yeah.
She said it. That's
hot
good.
Takes.
That's good. Straight out the oven. All right. Jess, we're going to close with this. This has been a lot of fun. We like to call this last one reality roulette. So you get to remix a reality show where the cast members, we're going to switch them out for B2B marketers.
Okay.
And the premise of the show is going to be something related to B2B marketing. So what's a reality show? It could be a game show. It could be otherwise. What's a reality show that you would like to remix?
So my favorite reality show, it's a British reality show called Take Me on a Date.
Huh.
I think is the name of it. And you have one person who's single, and then you have like 20 people who are potential candidates to date. And the single person will like introduce themselves and be like, I'm Sean from I can't even do a British accent. It's gonna be so bad. I'm Sean from London. I like X, Y, and Z. And then the candidates are like, okay, like I'm still interested or not. And then they'll ask questions to suss each other out. I would love that for I'm a brand and I need to find a contractor, freelancer, marketing agency.
Ooh.
Or make each like candidate your campaign. But if you think about it, because listen, these people, they're trying to sell themselves, but the show knows what's what.
Right.
The Cut actually on YouTube has the Button, a show that's similar to this, but they will bring up the things that are maybe red flags. So if you're in there and agency and someone's like, I'm a B2B brand, we're fast growth, our target is for marketing to produce 70% of revenue, we have a 55% growth target, and our marketing budget's $2 million. And then the show is like, also, this client only has one technical founder and isn't willing to let you hire any full-time headcount for 5 years. You'd be like, oh shit, I'm out.
The things they don't say.
I'm out. You know what I really want to start someday, though? I want to start a betting platform for betting on A/B testing campaigns.
Huh.
So listen, if anyone's listening, steal my idea. I'll be your first customer. Marketers could put out their campaigns like, we're going to test this creative versus this creative, and everyone could vote, and you could bet on which one you thought was going to win based on the over-under odds of the audience polling.
Wow.
I think that would be fun.
That's wild.
You could just see people's campaigns and be like, I think like, because listen, there was an email campaign once, I bet my career on it, and I was wrong. I hated it so much. I hated the other option. I was like, I think I told my email marketer, it's like, I think it's absolute trash. I hate it. And I would bet my career that is not going to perform well.
Yeah.
And it did phenomenal.
Jeez.
Across every target audience. We sent out to like 9 audiences. So there were 2 audiences that it didn't win on, but it didn't lose either. It was just a clean sweep between the 2.
Wow.
So I would love a reality show where you can bet and see performance of different A/B tests that marketers are running. Also, the matchmaking dating show would be fun.
I love that.
Because someone would take that client. They'd be like, I know they say they can't hire for 5 years, but I know that when they see my program and the impact, they're going to come around.
I can change them.
I can make them a better client.
Oh gosh.
I can make it work. Yeah, the technical co-founder thinks he's going to build his own version of HubSpot internally.
Right.
But I can get them to buy. Yeah, someone would take that.
Dating.
Someone would take
There's
it.
so much to unpack there. We need to get on the therapist couch for that one. We're going to have to close on that note. My goodness. We've been talking to the Jess Bahr, award-winning, revenue-focused B2B marketer, founder and CMO of, some growth agency. She's also the host of Marketers Talking Marketing. I said it right this time. And she's a mediocre Call of Duty player. So if you ever need somebody to beat up on, maybe she's the person.
Yeah. I'm entertainment. I might not be able to kill people, but
she might hit you with an empty gun on the game. So
pretty much what happened.
Do beware. Jess, thank you for coming on the Demand Wars.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, folks, we'll see you on the next edition. Bye for now.